for joining today. As Christina mentioned, my name is Jonathan Gudai, and I'm the CEO of Adomni. And I'm excited to talk to you about how programmatic digital out-of-home is driving performance results for omni-channel marketers. And oftentimes when I'm at trade shows, I see presentations that I want to learn more about or actually get a copy of. And so if you guys ever wanted to download this, you can go to adomni.com/Digiday and get a copy of the presentation. So quick little background on Adomni. We are a marketing platform that helps advertisers reach their ideal consumers in the physical world. And we do that over a demand side platform on adomni.com. And we also have recently launched a brand new ad network with Uber called Uber. And we're really excited to tell you guys about what's been going on because there's been a lot of change, a lot of innovation happening in the digital out-of-home world. And ultimately what it all kind of comes down to, and really the theme of this presentation, is how attention drives results. And the tough thing about this day and age, whether you're in COVID or not in COVID, is that to actually attract that consumer attention, it's getting harder and harder. And so as marketers, and that may be why you're here today, we're looking for new ways to drive better results, new ways to connect with audiences in more meaningful ways, and also do that in a climate that is fragmenting more and more by the day. And so that's really what digital out-of-home and really out-of-home at large is helping to solve. And this summer, Nielsen put out a brand new study that actually quantified how influential digital out-of-home is in terms of influencing consumer behavior. So the first stat that came out of that study was that 66% of consumers who see an ad on a digital out-of-home screen end up taking a measured action, whether that's going to their website, visiting the store, watching the TV show. So think about that. By putting out an ad in the physical world and doing that for enough time, you have the ability to have someone on their smartphone go and learn more about that. And 2 out of 3 people will actually take advantage of that. And 34% they found actually do a search. So they'll open up, take the phone and go to Google and search for that brand, search for that product after seeing it. So really big numbers when it comes to ad recall. And the other thing that's kind of recently been quantified is the impact that if you're buying social media ads, so if you're buying Facebook, that if you pair that with digital out-of-home, you'll see better return on ad spend. And this is from Facebook. So Facebook put out a blog post where they actually did a study with Accenture recently, and they looked at 6,000 marketers who were doing Facebook ads. And what they found is that when you pair the digital billboard ads, the street furniture ads with Facebook social media ads, you end up getting a 13% lift compared to if you just did Facebook ads alone. And that seems kind of interesting. Why would Facebook want to promote another channel and not just only Facebook? And the reason is because out-of-home makes Facebook ads stronger. And they want the same thing that we all want, which is just more clicks, more purchases, more store visitation. And if you put that into dollar terms, let's say you put $100,000 into Facebook ads alone, and you're looking for a 3x return, you get $300,000 of return on ad spend. If you have the same results that those 6,000 marketers did in their study, then that same $100,000 will give you back $339,000, a 3.4x lift. So that's what it's really about is how do we as marketers find new ways to take advantage of the platforms around us, the screens around us, to drive a better outcome. And really the change is happening quickly. And in the digital out-of-home space, there's been 4 gigantic leaps forward that even in 2020 have been happening, and COVID in some ways has actually accelerated. The first is the accessibility of the inventory, the scale of the inventory, the ability for marketers to do hyper-targeting based upon your ideal audience, and then to actually measure and see the results. And so what we've seen, and I'll go through this over the course of the next few slides, is that there's more buying platforms. The inventory is now larger than ever before. Mobile location data is helping you optimize where to advertise. And then most importantly, you can now report on your KPIs with digital out of home being as a standalone item measured into the mix. So better performance and a channel that's been around forever that's now being modernized to be combined with the lower funnel direct response mediums to actually drive better outcomes. So let's talk about scale first, or accessibility. So Omni-Channel DSPs, there's been a lot of movement in digital out of home where it's moved as a new channel in the Omni-Channel DSPs. So today you can layer on digital out of home in a Mobi, MediaMath, Adelphic, and Verizon. Coming in the next month or two, you can do Zeta Global and the Trade Desk. And I'm sure we'll be adding, this time next year, there'll be 10 more names that we would add to the slide. And then there's also channel demand side platforms like ours. So Adomni, Vistar Media, Hivestack. So bottom line, it's never been easier to buy digital out of home than right now. And obviously we're with Adomni, so I can speak most to that. And a lot of the next slides are going to talk about our experiences and what we've done with our platform. But it's really exciting to think that it's not multiple RFPs. It's not weeks of planning. Hands-on keys, your DSP of choice, you can buy and measure in real time. So we had presented on February 26th, Christina mentioned at the Palm Springs Summit. And at that time, Adomni had 161,495 connected screens, which was about 30 billion impressions. Since then, and COVID definitely has helped us as an industry connect more inventory, we now have added 75,334 more screens. And this is what it looks like right now. 9,852 cities where you can target programmatically 45 billion monthly impressions. And 95% of these impressions are video ads. When it comes to the types of screens, it's everything from your digital roadside billboards, so Lamar, Clear Channel Outdoor, Outfront. You've got Uber, the latest ad network that's putting video screens at the street level, doctors' offices, grocery stores. So it's a wide mix where more and more digital screens are popping up in the physical world. And now we as marketers can actually harness those to get our message across. With Uber in particular, what's special about it is that you're doing video ads at the street level that are also connected to the rest of the screens in market. So with this example, this is Atlanta, where we have 425 Ubers today with video screens. The ability to reach audiences in that unmissable way is really what Uber provides as like a connective tissue, if you will, to the real world. And if you think about Uber, I mean, most of us use it as consumers and we're just getting one car at a time. But if you're UFC and you've got a fight coming up in a week and a half, your ability to promote that fight all around town, on every street corner, every freeway, and this just shows about 80 cars. Imagine 5 times more cars in Atlanta, 350 cars in Dallas, 200 cars in Phoenix. Right now, there's 1,000 vehicles, a couple 100 million monthly impressions that you can target and programmatically buy, with LA, Chicago, Miami, and San Francisco coming up next. So really exciting stuff when it comes to just innovation on the actual scale of inventory that you can target. The other thing that Uber's doing that's really interesting is that it's not just ads. So the DPAA put out a study in their media planning guide last year that showed that when you combine content with ads, even on digital out-of-home screens, you get a significantly better response rate. And so what Uber's doing is they're putting art in between ads. And so imagine you're driving down the street, or you're a pedestrian walking down the street, and an Uber kind of comes to a stop, and a unicorn walks across the screen past a subway station. Like, that's going to catch your eye. And then it goes to the UFC ad of in this case, a body slam. That's going to catch your eye. So this is what we're talking about, this really captivating content that also weaves in advertising that ultimately helps a brand connect with their audience in an unmissable, captivating way. So really awesome stuff that's been happening on the supply side. Now let's flip it around and talk about the audiences, because as we all know, COVID has had a pretty significant impact on the whole marketing world, and as you can imagine, out of home. So we look at, really, my personal favorite are these three different dashboards. You've got Apple, which uses their iPhone data, Geopath, which is a measurement trade body for out of home, and then Ubimo. And the good news is that out of home audiences are back. And here's what it actually looks like. So I pulled the numbers this morning that shows January 13th is the benchmark, so before COVID hit. Right now, across the United States, driving is almost 30% up. Walking is 21% up compared to pre-COVID. And if we look at the top 5 DMAs, the average driving is 123% of where it was in January, and almost that same amount for walking. New York City is the only one that's not back to fully normal, but it does continue to improve week over week. And if you even look at the middle of the pack DMAs, 155% up driving. So that was always the question that we as marketers had is, okay, I'm at home a lot. I'm not going to the office. Does that mean audiences aren't out there for me to reach my targeted consumers? And that was true in April and May. But once we all just kind of started losing it, we're like, we have to get out of our house. We have to go out. Out of home audiences are actually higher now in many cases than they were beforehand. So that is on the audience side. When it comes to audiences, with programmatic out of home, you can target the same way that you do Facebook, Google, or mobile ads. So on the Adomni platform, we partnered with PlaceIQ, Zeta, and Mira. And we have 200 million monthly devices where we are able to build exposure areas around all of our screens and understand who traveled past it in an anonymous, kind of safe way. And so if you are UFC and you're trying to reach, males that of this age range that, go to the gym or go to professional sporting events, we can optimize where we place the ads and at what time to reach that optimal audience. You can also measure how the ads are working. So this is like the brand new kind of groundbreaking advancements in the industry, where using our ad play logs and the timestamps and where the ads were played, we can understand who was exposed, what mobile device IDs were exposed, and then measure what they did after they were exposed to the ad. And so for UFC, for example, we can measure how many people that saw that Uber ad or the billboard ads ended up going to the UFC website and going and purchasing the pay-per-view or watching content. So it's not just out of home like you think about it, where it's just awareness, just top of the funnel. We're now able to do things like website visitation lift. How many people ended up going into a retail store after being exposed compared to a control group? How many people ended up downloading an app? How many people had more of a brand affinity where they now remember what you're trying to market? And this is the exciting stuff. I mean, this is where the performance elements of out of home start to come into the mix. And when you think about your omni-channel, where you've got your mobile and now your connected TV and your video and your display, by layering on the physical world, you complete the omni-channel. And there's no place like out of home. So Christina, I don't know if I